and welcome to the Nexus Gaming Series. My name is Cat Peach, and I am here tonight with a Division B East game. We're going to have Heroes of the United States versus SYK. And with me tonight, I have a new guest who has not actually joined me for a cast before. We have a Random Task here. Random Task, how are you doing tonight?
Doing well. You know, it's a good night. It's Thursday.
It's not hump day.
that means when it's Thursday, that means it's almost Friday, and Friday's a really good day.
Yeah, Friday
Plus,
is.
Long weekend, so...
Absolutely. We're going to have Labor Day. I have no idea what I'm going to be doing all day Monday, and I can't wait to just mostly sleep, probably, let's be honest.
I've gotten used to not doing that anymore.
Womp womp. Sleeps through the week. Or something. I don't know. All right, both our teams are ready to go here, so we are not going to hold them up. So let's get this game underway and walk people through what we had for our coin flip. So here's the United States winning that coin flip. They banned out Barax's holdout while SYK banning out Volskaya Foundry. Map number 1, SYK is taking us to Infernal Shrines, while the members of the Heroes of the United States taking us to Dragonshire at the end of the night. So it will be a couple very interesting matches, I would say.
Yeah, so both these teams have played Infernal Shrines a decent amount, and I'd say mixed results for both of them. So Heroes of the United States is 1-1. SYK, they've played the map 3 times and lost every time, but maybe this time they'll get it. They probably say so this is Heroes of the Storm's Heroes of the United States, one of their worst maps. They banned out Volskaya, which is one of their best maps. So maybe they can get a win up here.
And you're saying SYK, this is also not a map they necessarily win a lot on?
They don't have the one period, but they have played it a lot.
Okay. Well, it's very interesting then that it is coming out as their map pick for game number 1, so perhaps studying up in between games from the last time they've attempted to play.
It seems more of we can possibly beat Heroes of the United States on this map because they haven't done well on it either. Mm-hmm. It's one of their worst maps. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Catching up on the bans here on Infernal Shrines. The Alstraza absolutely making sense. That Dragon Queen value over here on those shrine capture points very high, along with the dunks coming out from Azmodan, so immediate ban there. I can't believe Azmodan still has such a high ban rate here in NGS, and I understand that definitely stronger since the rework and even after some of the tweaks afterwards. But Kael'thas and Azmodan just always getting banned out here. At least it feels like it.
Azmodan is banned out a lot more than I would think. I can understand sometimes like a second ban where you're just like, I don't feel like dealing with this hero, but I think that sometimes people ban it just cause, and oftentimes you give up a lot of really strong heroes to the other team by banning him, because I think people don't realize he's a really late game scaling hero, and it's very easy to abuse the early game against him.
Yeah, for sure. And like you mentioned, with allowing kind of those stronger heroes in, Diablo and Phoenix making their way over for SYK here, and we know how powerful that Lightning Breath Purification Salvo combination can be. And I like the takeaway of Thrall for Heroes of the United States over on the left, in response, making sure they also don't have that Earthquake to follow up on, but also giving them lots of opportunity to try to find things to capitalize themselves with that heroic.
I would have liked to see a Blaze pick out of him, because the Blaze can negate that Wombo pretty easily. He's really strong in this map too, so...
Yeah, I mean, still on the table.
It looks like neither of them have really played Blaze, though.
Today might be the day that one of them decides they are brave enough to pull out the Blaze. Yeah, I think we actually saw lots of bunker negation actually in HEC Open Division in Cup number 7. So lots of value perhaps there. Given that, I'm surprised that SYK didn't ban out Blaze. So I'm very curious what the solo lane situation will be actually for both teams. Is Thrall going to be that solo lane, or are we going to see someone else come in?
It's a good question. Thrall, I think, in this meta is much more suited to be in the 4-man, actually. but I think he can be running a solo lane.
Yeah, I mean, we
So-
definitely have seen both, so...
So I think right now SYK is probably gonna bust out the Rainer, I would think, and whatever other pick they're gonna get here.
So SYK still needing that support on the right, but yeah, I'm wondering what Here's the United States going to round the draft off with. They're gonna take a Zarya and a Sergeant Hammer. Not so surprised by the Hammer being actually really strong here on Infernal Shrines, but the Zarya is very less common, I would say, random. And by say, I mean we've seen an uptick slightly ever since the Western Clash, thanks to Method.
ADRD.
Hashtag ADRD meta.
I like that pick. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, to say the least. Zarya can help negate some of the wombo, but I think if she doesn't get shield value, they might have a tough time.
Yeah, I'm wondering who's really gonna feel that. So long as whoever is playing that Zarya able, I would say, have to focusing on timing out those shields with Jaina's combo coming out, because that's just going to build up so much energy.
The left side is heroes, right?
Left side is Heroes of the United States, yes.
Right, yeah. Okay, so
who wins this draft, do you think? I think I was up with Heroes of the United States up until that Zarya. They still are the dominant team in this matchup going into this match, so you can't discount that, but
I think so. With the Stukov pick, I think it kind of, there's not going to be much pressure on Stukov. I think it enables them to dive Sergeant Hammer. The biggest problem with playing against Sergeant Hammer is when she's impossible. She's very hard to engage upon because she has knockback, she has unstoppable. Getting the Stukov silence on her as an initiation tool and then going in makes it much easier to deal with.
Yeah, I would say so. We're going to have to see how that ends up playing out here in game number 1. So let's introduce these teams. And we have Jub dancing over there on that Decker Cane. We're going to have Waterboy on Thrall. Zarya will be played by Andrew. Watson will be on Johanna. And Blaze will be on that Sergeant Hammer.
And SYK on the right, we have Who's on Mom on Diablo. We have Zumiez on Jaina. We have Ravelous on Phoenix, Obsidian 19 on Stukov, and we have Task to Mouth on Dehaka. Now that is lying, because he should be the support player.
Switching things up a bit, I suppose, here for the members of SYK. Very interesting.
They're going up for some siege value on the top. I feel like they should have anticipated this a little bit more.
Yeah, I think the all-in, Watson getting cut out very early there. Beautiful body blocks coming out from Who's on Mon, trying to get that early kill, but versus a Johanna, very difficult. Diablo going to go down instead, trying to get that kill in. And this wall already taken out from SYK's Structures.
They had a pretty good engage. I think they kind of knocked Hammer out of the silence, the lurking arm, and that allowed her to get away. And they tried to kill the Zarya, which was a little bit difficult for them. I think they might have burned the cooldowns on Jaina already.
Yeah, the rotations coming out now from both teams, making sure they're not losing any soak here. Especially for SYK, I think with that Hammer and the push capabilities that come along with a hero like that, making sure they're not losing out too early on that experience is going to be extraordinarily key if they want to take this game number 1, which we were talking before. Currently, SYK sitting, I believe, at 14th for the division, so they definitely have a lot to live up to here in this matchup.
They've won 2 games out of 8, so sitting at 25% win rate. Yeah, I guess that puts them around that. I didn't get to look at the standings recently. Let me take a look again. But yeah, so they need to win some games here if they want to try to make the playoffs without having to go through the wild card.
Yeah, absolutely. In that bottom lane, we saw Dehaka and Thrall trading trading punches and hammers and throws and all that good stuff. That matchup is going to be very interesting to keep an eye on. I think between both of them being melee heroes, we usually see a little bit of range sometimes coming out for some folks, but both of them wanting to be in each other's faces for as much as possible in that bottom lane. Currently, Dahaka winning out on that trade. But we can see the value here. Blaze just sitting up, having Andrew and Jub there simply to heal up, to protect, to help push this top lane. And I don't really know if SYK prepared to do with that. They're going to focus on grabbing their siege camp. But with first shrine coming up, what do you think are going to be the keys for one team or the other to converting the shrine?
SYK needs to get a good flank. If they can do that, they get a good flank, get a really good lurking arm on a target that they can kill very easily. I think they have a good chance of winning the fights. But in a long sustained fight, Heroes of the United States is going to win super free.
Yeah, absolutely, and we see them trying at least to get a bit of damage onto that Blaze, or onto Blaze on that Sergeant Hammer, but the shield's coming out from Zarya, absolutely disincentivizing that. Task gets a pretty good tongue onto that, but who is on Mom getting very low? Diablo still trying to stack up on Soul, so not that tanky as of yet. Going to back up, help spread those heals. We do have SYK. Oh golly, I just flew off the map. Hello. And my camera has decided... Where's my mouse even?
So,
my mouse, yeah, talk about this a bit, because my mouse has entirely died, it seems.
Basically, they're kind of just dancing around each other. SYK is a little bit lower. They do have a 9-minion lead on the shrine, but I don't think it's going to last very long.
Yeah, they were able to get it early, but...
I would have liked them to actually see them try to just go for the shrine a little bit more.
Yeah, they're very hesitant to go in with Blaze stationed up there, having to give all that damage in, and so far... Obsidian not able to get that lurking arm that you talked about, trying to get under that hammer and negate that damage. Who's on Mom, though, trying to start an initiation at first, ends up backing away. Tass end up taking the responsibility on that front line. The stun goes on to Watson, but the Condemn coming out, trapping all members of SYK. Jane is going to be the first to fall. SYK on the retreat here as they lose one and are going to give Heroes of the United States the advantage to catch up on those skeletal defenders.
They really look like they're not on the same page a little bit. They're kind of changing targets a lot of the time. They're groping up way too much. I think Hammer was hitting all 5 of them right there.
Yeah, I mean, with the Condemn being able to pull them in, stun them in, that's a lot of free shots for that Hammer. But they also, as you mentioned, they seem okay just fighting in her range rather than trying to force her to move out of position. So gonna see if they're willing to adjust that kind of style, or maybe if they have something planned where they have in their heads a way to get around that.
You know, well, actually, that shrine is actually the best opportunity that they have to be able to flank her, because there's one entrance, one exit. It's really hard to run or escape.
Yeah, absolutely. That top one, because it is on the edge. If you accidentally get stuck in there, it's definitely not a great time. Not too many places to go. Gonna hold up on this pause here while we get the teams back into the game.
So you have to take this into consideration. You're going against a Hammer with the character like Joanna that's going to zone very well. You have the Deckard heals, you have Thrall roots, and you have Zarya's shield. So you have a lot of sustain. And if they don't get the kill right away, if SYK doesn't get the kill right away, they pretty much lose the fight every single time.
Okay. I think both teams are ready. Do you want to check that SYK? Yeah, looks like they're both good, so... I am unable to talk in all chat, so you are my liaison there. All right. So yeah, getting back to the action, major value coming out from this Punisher for Heroes of the United States, taking out that fort. The members of SYK had tried initially to get some more experience in that mid lane, push that a little bit as they gave up this shrine. But it didn't seem like they were able to get too much, but they're not too far behind. Beautiful bait coming out from Who's on Mom. This Punisher should finally fall. But what are next steps, I would say, for SYK and for Heroes of the United States? We have a 1-level lead for Heroes of the United States. So what are their next plans of attack here?
So, Heroes of the United States needs to wait till level 10 to really do anything on the map, while SYK needs to try to catch him somewhere out of place. Maybe try to get it to Haka, invade a camp or something. They need to try to force something, but I think it's a little too late now.
Yeah, they do have a little bit of time, but I think just from the speed of their rotations, not going to risk making that happen, so they're just going to grab that siege camp. Here's the United States doing the same thing in response, making sure they both have that pressure going on in mid. And this might give a little bit of relief to SYK there. Beautiful taunt coming out from Task, but there's no one there to follow up on the damage. Plus it's on a Johanna anyway, so only so much you can do there. But yeah, SYK grabbing as many camps as possible, as safely as possible, trying to do whatever they can at the heroic disadvantage that they're at.
Yeah, I mean, so they're probably going to have to realize that they really, what they don't want to do is get some type of staggered death trying to defend something that they shouldn't be, they can't. Which, I like their move to try to just clear out the mid-wave.
Yeah, they're going to clear it out. Yeah, try to get that camp that they have to push in a little bit farther. They were able to get the gate down in mid, so that is something that they do have going for them. Here we are, level 10 achieved for both, and SYK looking immediately for that fight. They're going to go in. They are missing that to Haka, who can brush talk at any point and try to help flank. But the roots coming out from Heroes in the United States being able to safely walk away, disengage, not necessarily wanting to take a fight now that they know that their opponents have caught up on the talent side of things, so not going to be able to command these team fights as easily as they have earlier in this game.
I would have liked to see them go for a much more aggressive flank right there. They kind of played it way too safe, in my opinion. I think there's not many opportunities you're going to have where the hammer comp is just going to be sitting right there wide open near your fort. A good flank, and I think they might have been able to catch someone out of position.
Yeah, for sure. I, too, was surprised. They looked like that they were just going to go in while Hammer was there, sieging away at that bottom fort. But maybe, as we were talking about, is there a little bit of miscommunication, not focusing on the same target? Dahaka took a while to burrow in to the bottom. Actually, didn't burrow in at all, which is what I was expecting them to do. But here's the United States coming in. The root goes out on Who's on Mom, but the shove is going to come out from Obsidian to make some room there. Purification Salvo. We're not seeing Lightning Breath. We are seeing Apocalypse coming out from that Diablo, so no combo there, which might be a regret now that Diablo is going to be the first to fall. And the focus now on Obsidian. Incredibly poisoned. Can they tap in time? They barely get the health well tapped to stay alive. But losing your Diablo, the reset on souls coming out now, is not what SYK really needed in that situation.
I am really surprised they didn't go Lightning Breath.
Same. Hard same. I'm trying to think of what else they have to follow up with the APOC. They might have planned for a APOC Ring of Frost combo, but...
That's what they're thinking, but I mean, it's going to be really hard to land APOC on that many people.
Yeah, especially without, especially with that Stay a While and Listen, I would say too. Just to, if you see the APOC come out, start throwing out the Lornado, trying to make a bit of distance between yourself and the rest of the team. So interesting choice of heroics there on the side of SYK. This is essentially a free shrine for Heroes of the United States. No contestion. 13 almost here as well, which is going to put them on another power spike in this game.
Dahaka's probably going to get them to level 13, I would think. But they're going to have to try to defend this keep with the Hammer Zarya comp. So that's going to be a little bit of trouble. And they don't have Lightning Breath. I mean, really the only way they can really proc Salvo is by Jane 8 hitting people with inevitability. And that's, yeah.
Yeah, not looking good for Who's on Mom. That Punisher ends up being the one who's on Mom in that situation. Ends up obliterating Diablo there, which doesn't give SYK really any front line in order to have any kind of defense here. Dahaka still up trying to soak in that top lane, but even if Dahaka came down, only so much he can do. This keep is getting incredibly low. Should fall soon. The Punisher, though, going on to the members of SYK, the keep eventually falls and the retreat is coming out for Heroes in the United States, getting exactly everything they could have dreamed for in that push.
Yeah, I mean, so when you're in that scenario, you really need to make sure you don't get out of position and die. Like Diablo dying right there probably cost him the keep. It might still might have gotten it, but you don't know. We don't know for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things that I think a lot of teams and a lot of players want to very eagerly start doing damage to that Punisher as soon as possible, so they actually step out just a little bit too far, get the stun, and with all the follow-up coming out from Heroes of the United States, that is an easy kill on Diablo, especially as we were talking about. Hasn't really had time to build up those souls again just yet. The APOC's going to come out, stuns actually no one in that fight. Obsidian, though, ends up way too in front of the rest of the team, ends up being taken out here by Heroes of the United States. Making, again, it's these little picks that Heroes of the United States keeps getting. They haven't had a full team weight as of yet, but if you take out that support, you take out that Diablo, the rest of the team has nothing to fall back on and have to simply retreat.
Yeah, and you know, coming back to the APOC, so Hammer has this really good button and really good talent at level 4 called Siege Tactics that gives her unstoppable for 2 seconds. So you APOC, not only do you take 50% less damage, but you don't get stunned. Which is why I really don't like the APOC pick. Lightning Breath, yeah, she can unstoppable it, but I think eventually she's gonna have to move somewhere to reposition because she can't just sit in Lightning Breath forever. And now you don't really have reliable. I mean, so Stukov, wait, Pustules can proc Salvo, which I guess maybe is the logic behind it, but I just like to see that damage being put on her. Like, I don't think the APOC's getting much value when you can just press a button and it just gets negated every 13 seconds.
Here's the United States, maybe seeing that Tass was clearing in mid before, end up simply passing them for now, but the sights are again on who's on. The Shadow Charge coming out, trying to escape. The APOC comes out in a bit of a stressful scenario, but it's not enough to save Diablo, and Diablo yet again falling here. And right before the next shrine activates, here's the United States just having the game of their lives here right now. There seems to be nothing that can challenge that hammer or any of the tactics coming out from their composition.
They've done a really good job of protecting the hammer. That's how the comp kind of works. So you can't. I mean, the only other thing they can really do at this point, to me, it seems like it's really hard. The way their comp is designed. So there are a few ways to approach hammer comps. One, you have to get pressure on hammer. You can do that either by someone with really long poke, like Li Ming, that can do a lot of damage to her over time and not really take a lot in the trades. You have to dive hammer, or you have to kill someone else. And the problem in this scenario is that you're trying to kill someone who's very hard to lock down in Joanna. So you have to dive, and they haven't really been able to do that.
Yeah, they can't dive. They can't even contest this shrine at this point, given that they don't have their level 16 talents. And like you said, usually when you're thinking about that dive, focus on something like the hammer. Well, they haven't been doing that. Who's the next pick? Is it Thrall? Not necessarily. Thrall has self-sustain. Thrall is not the easiest assassin to take down. And so all the targets here, on top of that Zarya shield, just make it incredibly difficult for SYK to really get anything in. And save for after the first run, they really haven't been able to keep up on the macro pressure either. They haven't been able to rotate in and get camps as often as they like, which I think would be a big win for them.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, they've kind of been outplayed in every single facet of the game. Oh, whoa! Oh, no!
Oh, the beautiful shell coming out from Obsidian, though, to make some space here. The double shields, though, from Zarya, building up that energy. Waterboy getting incredibly low as well, but it doesn't look like SYK ready to get the kill just yet. But the focus has been taken off the Punisher for the time being, who now destroys the keep. And this is a half-health Punisher going to core. The members of SYK not really sure. Do they want to defend? Do they want to keep trying to get a kill? That was probably their best chance at getting a kill, and they still could not secure it. The rest of the members, we have Zoomies and Ravelous finally taking out that Punisher, but I felt like that was their chance, and they just missed it from a couple nervous decisions made.
Obsidian, massive shove. It was unfortunate. I don't know if he was trying to hit the Deckard, but the Deckard was really low and he massive shoved him out of the fight. It was a much better engagement overall. I think the APOC got a lot more value there, but they just weren't able to get the kills.
Yeah, it's always rough when you shove the wrong target and you think maybe we could have gotten that kill. Maybe Obsidian just really nervous that Scroll of Stealing was going to come out, root who's on Mom, and be able to secure yet another kill on Diablo. Oh, the tongue from Tass! It tried to get the read. Watson being able to dodge it, though, picking up the siege camp on the side of their opponents. And, you know, SYK, they're trying to set up for these, like, surprises in the bushes every once in a while, but when it gets to the point where they can team fight, they seem so afraid to actually engage at all.
They're afraid. I think that's what it comes down to. They're hesitating a little bit too much and not being aggressive enough when they've needed to. And I think it's put them in situations where they're trying to fight a hammer comp like straight on. See, I really like this. Now they got a pretty good concave. Diablo's gonna get this flank right here. Hopefully he's able to pick someone off. But I think he's gonna actually die.
Yeah, Diablo tried to possibly get the flank, but lost place seemingly of the rest of the team. Diablo is gonna fall. The Purification Salvo coming out, I think just a bit too late. Zumi is trying to escape. The Ring of Frost coming out from Jaina, trying to be used in a defensive situation, but Stukov not being able to be saved. And this is full retreat for SYK, who's on Mom, back already from having those souls turned in. Dahaka, though, going to fall while trying to escape. This keep is going to go down, and with level 20s in their pockets, Heroes of the United States possibly looking to end this game with this wave and these two camps coming up behind them.
I'd be surprised if they didn't end this.
Shield's gone. Damage is coming out real fast, too. This is very much looking like game number 1 going to Heroes of the United States on their opponent's map pick. Yikes.
Now that I'm thinking about this, is that this almost the same comp as what Method was running? I can't remember.
I think it was something very similar. I do believe there was a hammer involved in that. I don't know the rest of the makeup of the team off the top of my head.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay, I do remember them running the Method run Zarya into something like this with the Wombo. However, it was a little different because they were running Uther, so all they needed to do was survive the Wombo, and then they would just out-sustain them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it really applied here to... they needed to get the exact right engages, needed to catch people out more often, and they weren't really able to do that, and Hammer's just going to wail away at people.
Yeah, absolutely. And taking a look at the stats here, SYK not able to secure a single kill in that game compared to the 9 on the sides of Heroes of the United States. So given the way that game goes, because it always feels bad to lose on your own map pick, and that was SYK's map pick. So going into a map that their opponents picked in game number 2 on Dragonshire, and the way that they were opting to play, what kinds of changes are you hoping to see come out of them?
They might just ban Hammer. To be honest, everyone hates that character.
I mean, yeah, totally warranting many bans both in HUC, in Nexus Gaming Series.
I think they need to start taking a better approach to the macro game and they need to keep vision a little bit better and keep track of where everyone is in lane. Like in the beginning, they just straight up like lost a wall because they were sitting in the mid lane expecting the other team to kind of play fair, play
play by the rules a little bit.
Play by the rules, yeah. All random. They expected him to ARAM in the beginning of the game. With a hammer comp, you have to anticipate that they're not going to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And We saw both teams. I mean, SYK did opt to not cross their own gate, trying to keep an eye on for, I think, where the members of Heroes of the United States were going to go, but they were a little bit late to rotate up there once they saw the damage coming out from that hammer and the rest of the team. So perhaps the key for them going into game number 2 is going to be that decision making, being a bit snappier on those rotations and maybe just going with those gut calls.
Yeah, be decisive, be aggressive, don't hesitate. You miss 100% of the chances you don't take.
Yep.
That was, I believe... No, I'm just kidding. That's
Wayne Gretzky.
The great Wayne Gretzky.
Michael Scott.
I was trying to think of someone really obscure. Michael Scott. That's a good one. They need to be decisive. They need to be aggressive. They need to not second guess themselves. That's what it seems like a lot. Sometimes what you need to, like, I think there was a lot of scenarios where they were pushing and then they tried to respond to hammer, and by the time they got back, it was too late. They should have just kept pushing still. I think trying to deal with the hammer, maybe this time they could say, okay, you can go push hammer in one lane, and we'll pick gray main or something and send them into another lane and push harder. You know, that's a pretty good strategy, like getting camps, just pushing in other lanes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Hammer has a really hard time rotating. I'm expecting a hammer ban now, because after everyone loses the hammer, they just don't want to play her again.
Yeah, they know the frustration, and so they just say ban immediately. We don't necessarily see hammer often here on Dragonshire, so I'm wondering if that's something that Heroes of the United States would be willing to pull out if they didn't ban it.
Hammer can show up in this map, but I think it's a little easier to play around because you don't really necessarily need to fight into her all the time. Mm-hmm. You can out-rotate her and out-mech her in this map.
Yeah, for sure.
Dragonshire is about rotations mostly, so we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm waiting on the bans here. It looks like SYK thinking real hard about what they're considering. I wonder if we're going to see that hammer ban like you had talked about going down to the wire. It's going to be Urel, who was banned out by Heroes of the United States the last game.
Yeah, I mean, Urel is busted on this map, so that's okay. It could possibly be like, okay, we're gonna be prepared for hammer next time. Maybe they ban the hammer in a second round, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. Thinking of other heroes that we often see here, I know in the past couple weeks of NGS, Malthael making kind of a return, and so given that you can opt into that additional movement speed at level 1, I'm wondering if that would potentially be an option here to help out with those rotations. Definitely not, I'm still going to say, like, not standard, not something you would expect, but still on the table.
Problem with running Malthael, he does win lanes, but he's also really gankable, so you have to be really careful about when picking him. There's a Genji ban. Genji's really strong on this map too.
Yep, I do like that. Again, with the speed of rotation, being able to swift strike for movement around here. Also the dismount from your mount for the additional distance. Always powerful. Pick going over to Heroes of the United States.
Now it'll be interesting to see what this ban is, because this could kind of tell us what they want to go for. Okay, no, I think they're just banning on a cover pick.
My bad. I always see the glowing, like, player 1, and I'm always confused by, like, oh, they're picking now. Nope, totally got ahead of myself. I also panicked there because I was like, oh, they're totally not supposed to be having first pick on this map. And I had a little panic attack. Haha.
I think you're going to see the Deckard pick up here. He seems probably pretty highly prioritized by both teams, looking at the stats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Deckard kind of the star support right now in the meta.
Oh, no, wait, no. They actually haven't picked him yet. I'm sorry. SYK has not picked him yet.
Deckard Cain?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Who is there? What supports do we usually see come out of SYK?
That's a good question.
But the Asmodan is not banned out. We get to see it. I'm excited to see that.
Looks like Rhaegar and Stukov are their highest picks.
Well, we're going to see Deckard reprised on the side of Heroes in the United States, followed with that Garrosh, which Garrosh fell off a little bit here in NGS for a while, depending on the division. So having the first pick, 1-2 over here for Heroes in the United States is something I would be terrified of.
I think part of it. Okay, so I think this is going to be a problem because Heroes of the United States, I think, is going to ban out maybe like Jaina or maybe like Raynor or Phoenix as the Garrosh counter, because I think the biggest problem with Garrosh is that slows just really disrupt his ability to like kind of engage. With Asmodon already picked, that's someone I think he can do decently, and if he can get close to. Asmodon doesn't really have much threat that you see Lyric ban.
Yeah,
so,
I
think actually it's just getting down to the point of like, there's so many offlaners banned right now, and Leoric would be good against him.
Yeah, no, for sure. Trying to choke out that offlane, I think, is going to be really important.
Or it's Cho'Gall.
Oh.
No, Cho'Gall's pretty bad on this map.
I'm trying to think, because you mentioned there's that Mountfield ban. Interestingly enough.
I mean, I think we're gonna see a Sonya probably or something.
Yeah, probably the Sonya. I can definitely see that. Maybe comeback of the Thrall. Maybe we see the Zarya Hammer come back out for Heroes in the United States. That would be, I think, not necessarily ideal here on Dragonshire, but if you dominate so well on one map, you can always try the same strat on another. We're gonna see Blaze and Maev. All right.
This is a pretty good rotation coming out of Heroes of the United States. You get a strong engage to complement the Garrosh, and you get the Blaze, which gives you the safe mechanic, especially pretty good for Maev now that she's kind of a little bit squishier. I think you kind of need a little bit more sustain for her, so. And plus the follow-up CC is always strong.
Oh, for sure. I'm wondering, so you talked about the Jaina ban. I'm wondering what comes out for SYK.
Oh, no.
Greymane Tyrael. I could see the Greymane. The Tyrael, though. Maybe banking on Holy Ground at 16, making for some defensive. Oh, sorry, yes, for 13. Yeah. I'm still stuck in the days when Holy Ground was 16.
I mean, I think it's a Raynor or Phoenix pick right here. Jaina. Okay. Yeah, Jaina's a.
Jesus,
they're all.
I mean, you have the Warden's Cage, you have the Ring of Frost if you want to opt for that, especially with the taunts from Garrosh being able to set up for something like that. But I mean,
they're all pretty good choices. I guess it really depends on what they like playing the most. So I think Phoenix, Jaina, or Raynor would have been open pretty good picks there. They all can capitalize on the amount of CC that's available. Mm-hmm. They all have pretty good AoE damage and heroics that can. So like, I think with Maev, you definitely go in Hyperion because you just Warden's Cage and then Hyperion comes out and melts them.
That'd be fun.
This provides a little bit more wave clear than the Raynor. I think the Phoenix would provide a little bit more wave clear, but I really like Heroes of the Storm's draft. They have a lot of clear between Maev and Jaina. Maev can camp. Blaze is pretty decent, all things considered, in the top lane. And I think if Tyrael's in the top lane, he's gonna win that pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how that goes, and we'll have to see how it plays out here in game number 2. Can Heroes of the United States take the sweep, or will SYK get a point on the board, making this a 1-1 series? On the left, here's in the United States, we are going to have Blaze playing that Maev, Watson on the Garrosh, Andrew will be playing Jaina, Waterboy on Blaze, and Jub reprising that Decker Kane.
On the right, we have SYK, Who's on Mom on Raynor, Tast to Mouth on Tyrael, Zumiez on Greymane, Obsidian 19 on Whitemane, and Ravelous on Osmona.
And we saw the tether come out from Blaze, but the follow-up damage from SYK with Obsidian on that white main, and with Tyrael damage as well, forcing a little bit of a back off there. But the instant split coming out, make sure these lanes are cleared up. This bottom lane, I think, is going to be probably very interesting to keep an eye on to see where the focus is. I think top Blaze and Tyrael are going to kind of do their own thing for most of this match. But the brawl here all the time here on bottom, all Who's on Mom going in pretty deep. Blizzard coming down from Janna, being able to get some early damage. And Blaze going in onto Ravelis, trying to get some damage onto the Azmodan, but nothing as of yet.
It's kind of interesting that it's going to be a little bit harder for Blaze to clear with the shields.
Yeah, the shields that come out from Tyrael onto those minions, that was actually, back in the day, that was one of those strategies that you would use against someone like Azmodan, where you would see the dunk come in, you protect the minions with that shield, and that kind of cancels out stacking of that quest for a bit. So making sure Blaze can't clear as easily, definitely value. But the mana side of things for Tyrael still not speaking to me so much as this offlaner. But sticking just with those basic tacks should be able to be enough to give Waterboy not the easiest time in the top lane.
I think Waterboy needs to kind of focus. See, he's trying way too hard right now to get on this point. He needs to just focus on clearing waves and trying to push in the Tyrael, as opposed to trying to fight him. But it looks like they're going to send up Mo. Maybe they're not going to send up Maya.
And I think Tyrael giving that up, at least for the time being, knowing that they can harass Blaze, which wasn't something I was necessarily expecting. Again, we don't see Tyrael coming up too often here. So maybe this is something SYK had prepared specifically on this map with this composition. Maybe it's something that they're kind of winging it. We're going to have to see. Again, coming out in open division from Psystorm earlier this week, but Who's on Mom, sorry, right now getting a lot of damage to the face. Blaze going in with the tether, trying to get the pullback. There it is, and with the Fan of Knives, first blood going over again to Heroes of the United States.
Azmodan was in the mid lane. It was a 4-on-3 fight, so they capitalized. Heroes of the United States saw an opportunity. They caught Murden out of position, took him out.
Yeah, able to capitalize on that body advantage and the information on the board. Eldruin being used to kind of keep passing back and forth here through this hedge into the shrine is a very cool little interaction that I don't think I get to see very often. A lot of damage coming out from the Janna, though, onto that Azmodan, that Blizzard ripping through most of their health. Dunk coming out to try to poke a little bit Ravelis with the response damage onto Watson. Gonna proc that unstoppable, get out of there just fine, trying for one last stun. But the members of Heroes of the United States backing up a little bit, healing up before they go back in to try to capture this shrine.
So you see a rotation from Maya coming down. So Heroes of the United States is going to be able to get this for a split second. Both teams have done a pretty good job of getting the mid soak, which is, I think, is something that teams overlook. I'd really like to see which team is going to focus on getting the bruiser. Oh, so actually, Heroes of the United States is going for the prep bruiser. Just as I say it, it's like I knew something.
It's like we know this game a little bit. I mean, having control of this bottom beacon and being able to control that bruiser climb is huge for being able to control this bottom lane. And if they can push that, get out this gate, I don't think they'll be able to necessarily get out the well just yet, but at least cause enough of a distraction to see if they can possibly get something. Obsidian getting incredibly low, trying to escape there, but Whitemane is going to fall to the members of Heroes of the United States, and gate already down, work being done on these towers here in the bot lane.
Ooh, we got dragged out. That's it for Murden. I think you're going to see someone rotate to the mid now that they got 2 kills. I'm just going to go there right now. Plus, they're missing a lot of mid soak.
Yeah, mid at least pushed out in favor for SYK a little bit. They're still down on that experience. I don't think Tass is going to try to go in there, but the members of SYK not going to be able to rotate to mid in time. In this first Dragon Knight going over to Heroes of the United States, immediately gunning for this bottom lane to start finishing some of the work that they had started before the objective.
Yeah, real good. Like I said, real good job by heroes of the United States to force very advantageous fights. The Maev coming in for the flanks really netted them some good kills, and they were just able to capitalize on a little bit positioning errors by SYK.
Yeah, and overall, I still do sense a little bit of a nervousness from SYK, maybe a little less so now that they have Huzamam on that Muradin instead, something a little tankier than the Diablo, but that doesn't protect him from being flipped over. Ends up being taken out from a fellow sweep from that Dragon Knight. Obsidian also in a bad place, being slow there, not able to necessarily get away, and with the final smash from Garrosh being able to stop that retreat, Whitemane ends up falling, and that is a lot of damage to a fort, 2 kills for Heroes of the United States, and level 10 for them.
It's gonna be a tough spot. I think if you're heroes, you should just invade all their camps, push in. You probably could get the bot. You should be able to get the bot port pretty easily. I'd go for a bruiser camp at the top, get some pressure on the top lane.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna actually rotate and try to help Waterboy out. Maybe try to get a pick on this Tyrael. He does have a pretty good escape, so less likely, but at least a distraction. But this camp invade coming out from Heroes of the United States. The Warden's Cage comes down, I think, just to really seal the deal there. But being able to steal that siege camp, get the kill onto Whitemane yet again, who finds herself pretty far forward on the front line a lot of the times, it seems.
That was all Lornado.
Ah.
Right there, yeah. Those are, Judge threw out a really good Lornado, which isolated her. Watson was a little late on the taunt, which I think they could have secured the Muradin kill, but they were able to get the Whitemane with the really good Lornado. And now you got this double camp pushing bot. And now you have all these people dead.
Lots of health falling on the side of SYK.
There was a lot of overlap right there. I think if Blaze is able to get here.
And the dunks coming out from Ravelis on the back. Now on the chase. That was a beautiful sanctification coming out from Tass to Malf to help turn this around. The bunker, though, coming out to protect Braze and Garrosh and Maev. Tyrael is going to fall, not able to be necessarily around anyone to capitalize on the kill. And this turned again quite quickly on for the side of Heroes of the United States. First push back, getting a team wipe, however, after what seemed to be a glisten of hope for SYK.
Yeah, well, the problem was they used to talk about sanctification and what's Lucio's heroic sound barrier overlapping.
Mm-hmm.
They panicked and dropped all of their defensive cooldowns at once. So if they had saved onto one, if they only used sanctification and then were able to use the Aegis later, they would have probably been able to win that fight after the chase. But with all their heroics down, they were just able to use bunker to save any low teammates and kind of get the kills and clean up.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about in the draft of actually game number 1, is just the value of bunker when you're in a very difficult place. Being able to save teammates just a little bit longer, allowing them to regen just a little bit of health before turning around. But Asmodee was trying to poke here on the shrine to prevent Heroes of the United States from taking the Dragon Knight, but ends up being toppled upon in response. Waterboy, though, surrounded by a few members of SYK. But SYK coming in to surround who's on Mom. The cube coming out to proc the slow. The root does miss, but the slow's coming out from Jaina, and the Lornado on top of that, making sure that Tassimouth got a lot more damage. Eldruin was used to escape, but the rest of the members of SYK are being chased away here. Whitemane again falling from that engagement. And Heroes of the United States showing us exactly what they showed us in game number 1, that they aren't here to mess around. They want to dominate any matchup here today that they're going to face.
Yeah, and like honestly, it's kind of like they're trying to say here, this is how you dive. You know, They've done a really good job just engaging them on targets and consistently finishing them off every single time, which is kind of the different take on when SYK played this kind of comp last game.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to give Heroes of the United States their second Dragonite of this game, and they're chunking through this fort very easily. The tether coming out from Blaze, the damage onto Tyrael, now trying to capitalize on any damage they can in that trait form. Asmodee going to follow as well, and now their eyes turn back to finishing off that fort. Dragonite going to consider pushing into this gate a bit more. The wall is gone. They can simply go for that well to ensure the healing is gone if they wanted to, but they're going to focus down here on these turrets, making sure the damage isn't there.
This should be a keep, I think.
Let's see,
No,
we
maybe not.
have 3 seconds till Asmodee's back. Tyrael just returning as well.
I think it should be
This might be. Yeah, this is totally a keep. Given the damage that they're putting out, they're going to have most...
They do not have bunker up, so they probably need to back up. Or they can...
Well, they're going to put out the Warden's Cage and try to get more damage onto the side of SYK. Sanctification is going to come out to try to get that save in. The damage coming out onto Andrew. Ends up in Jaina falling. Zumi's going in hard on Watson as well. Watson going to force the disengage with the toss, but who's on Mom trying to get in and focus any members of Heroes of the United States down, making them stay in this fight, trying to body a bit longer. SYK, the beautiful jet propulsion coming out from Waterboy for that disengage, knocking 4 of SYK down. Obsidian from the backline, dumping the damage onto Watson, but just enough health to survive. The bunker coming out to poke a little bit of flame damage, but that is 2 kills for the first time all this series. 2 kills in favor of SYK, but this entire time, bottom pushing with those 3 catapults, more damage going on to that keep. Tyrael and Asmodee responding to that, trying to clean that up, trying not to lose any percentages on their core.
So what you saw right there is a little bit of overstaying their welcome by Heroes of the United States, and this time they did not overlap the defensive cooldowns. Sanctification came down. So I kind of understand the idea behind Tyrael. Like in a fight, when you get the Warden's Cage engaged, if you Sanctification on it, kind of puts her in trouble. It kind of leaves her on an island. So then you can focus her real hard and not have to worry about like being grouped up or being like engaged upon. They were able to get the kill on someone pretty early, and then they were able to get another kill later.
Yeah, I think the first to fall in that fight ended up being the Jaina, which was a lot of that burst damage coming out, so it gave them a little bit of a chance. But they're trying to actually disengage from this. Here's the United States forcing the issue, though, with the tether, with the Warden's Cage. Murden going to fall first. Task to Melf on the retreat going to fall as well. Zumi's looking really low, afraid to dive in there. The keep is finally going to fall. Here's the United States trying to go in for another kill. The beautiful tether coming out from Maya. Jet propulsion going on to Obsidian, and Whitemane going to fall next. Ravelous trying their best to do whatever damage they can, but ends up retreating to the Hall of Storms. The bunker coming out as well to protect the members of Heroes of the United States, and it's looking like they're wanting to finish this. Damage focusing on the core, the jet propulsion to stun Ravelous, preventing any kind of defense, but Zumi's going in that wolf form, trying to swipe the members of Heroes of the United States, and the retreat finally coming out, the Lornado for the disengage. 73% health on the core for SYK here, which isn't the end of the world, but definitely not what you want to see.
Yeah, they have 2 keeps down. I think what you're going to see, Heroes of the Storm go for a lot of camps right now, just try to put a little pressure on the map. As soon as they're able to channel the Dragonite, they're probably just going to be able to end the game.
Yeah, I mean, with 2 keeps get down with 1 Dragonite, that's a very easy end, I would say, especially as we're getting into the later parts of this game. 2-level lead in favor of Heroes of the United States. And I'm not really sure if there's too much SYK can do at this point.
They're okay. They did not scat it out.
They didn't scout out the camp, which is good.
They would have been in trouble.
Oh no, Huzama ended up getting flipped over the gate, but uses the door toss to get right back over, but the Lornado trying to capture them in just a little bit longer. The focus onto Who's on Mom procs the Sanctification to survive. Greymane is going to fall. Ravos looking really low as well, ends up falling right before Whitemane there. Who's on Mom should fall very quickly after this, and then Task and Melf is simply trying their best to stall. Uses the Eldrune to buy a little bit of time. The shield's coming out, but this should be a dead Tyrael. And there it is. There was already camp on this core, and this random. This is absolutely game. 5 members down. You have catapults. You have the remains of a camp, and soon you're gonna have quite a bit of damage from that blaze. But honestly, Watson's not even waiting, and that is going to be a 2-0 victory for Heroes of the United States this evening.
Yeah, they executed really, like, I was really impressed with the execution overall. They were able to follow up all the engages perfectly. Deckard, Jub on Deckard did a really good job of using tornadoes. My support player on my team says that he delivers. He delivers people like the FedEx guy or something. Jub was able to do it really. Jub was able to. Jub did that very consistently. On the camp on the bottom when they were invading. He was able to get the Whitemane. There was a few times where he was able to use it the zone. I think there's like the 3 kills are literally just them overstaying their welcome a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And just taking a look at the stats here, we had 24 kills to 3 for Heroes of the United States. The damage coming out from Jaina, though, very close to that Maev. Both Andrew and Blaze doing fantastic jobs on those rolls to be able to capitalize on those kills. If your opponents of Heroes of the United States going forward through the division, what do you take away after this match? What do you prepare for if you're facing them later this season?
I wouldn't give him Deckard. Let me see. So let's see. Let's check win rates. They've won every single game with Deckard before this, and now they add 2 more wins with that. So they have 100% win rate with Deckard, 4-0. So I think if you're looking at this, you have to be like, be sure you want to give him that. But other than that, I mean, they've shown that they played 2 different tanks. They've played 4 different damage, 4 different flexes. I'll say, because Zarya is not really a damage dealer per se. 2 different offlaners. So, but they played a really slow, grindy comp, and then they played a really aggressive comp. So in that regard, it's going to be hard for teams to prepare for them if they are able to consistently play both those styles very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you start bringing out odd heroes such as that Zarya, it is hard to garner what is their true hero pool? What can they actually play and are comfortable on? Or is there something they can quickly prepare on and be able to execute as well as they did with that Zarya composition? So a team like that is something definitely to be afraid of. We're just trying to track down who's going to want to do the interview over here from our winning team and talk about these points a little bit more. Bear with us as we start getting that prepared. Yeah, on the flip side, though, if you're SYK here, I mean, being last currently in the standings and having to go out against one of the strongest teams in the league, obviously a very good learning opportunity. What do you think are the key things that they can work on in order to hopefully secure a few more wins in the season?
They need to, I think it seems like they need to prepare themselves a little bit more for draft. This draft was kind of weird because they ran an Osmodon with a solo. So I think when you play Osmodon, you really need to try to have a solo lane matchup that wins on that matchup, because if you lose that and you lose the bot in the early game, it kind of can snowball. So having a laner that will bully the Blaze, maybe even like Sonya, you know, it would have commanded more respect from the rest of the other team. But they didn't have to worry about the solo lane at all.
Yeah, absolutely. It does look like... Sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Oh, the one more thing I was going to say is it looks like they probably should practice their execution a little bit in regards to shot calling and following up, making sure that they don't overlap cooldowns, because I think multiple times that game, like I said, they had a few defensive cooldowns that they could have stacked, which included Sanctification and Scarlet Aegis, and I think that multiple times they overlapped each other, and then they were they kind of wasted. Generally, they wasted Aegis.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
It does look like we are going to have Watson for our interview. Let's go pop into one of the open lobbies so that we can. It looks like he's in lobby 3, so let's go pop over there.
all right.
Watson, congratulations on your 2-0 against SYK. How are you feeling after that?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Nice to get a domination. We needed that to stay up towards the top of the leaderboards. So
Yeah, I
it's,
mean,
it's a good set.
Yeah, coming in today, according to the standings, you're sitting, I think, in about 4th place with SYK, sitting toward the bottom of the standings in the league. So when you come into a matchup like that, are there things that you as a team tend to think about a bit differently? Is this like an experimentation ground for you, or do you treat these kind of the same way that you treat every other matchup in NGS?
You gotta treat them all the same. Anybody can beat anybody. It's you know, and that's the scary part about Heroes of the Storm. So you know, one mistake in draft can kind of cost you the game. So we take it, regardless. You know, we don't really take the record into account and just kind of look at what they've done and look kind of what heroes they like to play, what compositions they like to play, and then see what we can do to deal with that. So
Yeah, absolutely. We were actually just talking before we popped over about that composition you had drafted for game number 1 with the Hammer Zarya. Tell us a bit about the thought process, inspiration about that draft, specifically when it comes to Infernal Shrines.
I mean, you see it with EU method runs Zarya on that map. Feels like she provides a lot of zone control, and as soon as they started to round out the tail end of their draft, we felt like they didn't necessarily have enough tools to engage on the hammer, and you know, and that's kind of where I think Zarya fits well in that composition, is that she's able to provide even further protection just between displacements and zone control. It just put us in a really comfortable spot, and I feel like, you know, I don't think they anticipated either of those two heroes, which made it that much more impactful, I think, for us.
Yeah, for sure. Random, I'm going to pass it over to you for questions.
So, I feel like you kind of sent a message today by saying, look, we'll play Hammer one game, and then we'll bust your face in with Mayav. You're trying to make sure that you keep yourself well-rounded going into the future?
Yeah, I mean, we actually thought about running it again on Dragonshire, but yeah, I mean, we honestly did. We sat there and we're like, well, we could go Hammer again, but we don't want to feel like, we don't want any of our you know, future competition to feel like we're too one-dimensional. So it's,
I mean, maybe you do though. Maybe you want to think that.
We tried that. See, that's the unfortunate part. So I think we had one night with Kuma casted both of our games, and we ran the exact same composition three games in a row, and we won all 3. And so it got to a point where it's like, you know, we probably ought to try and diversify a little bit. So we wanted to have a little fun in the second game. We felt like we could really get a lot of value out of Maiev, and so she's a fun hero to play. So that was certainly something we enjoyed.
I think it's a hero that people are sleeping on a lot. I mean, I don't think they realize like how much she's still really highly prioritized in like HGC, but I think in NGS overall her prioritization has gone down a significant amount.
Well, it feels like people still, I think everyone almost forgot about her as far as NGS goes. Is they kind of, I think people forgot that, oh wait a minute, she's still really obnoxious and can pull me all the time. I think Murden, you know, for example, a couple of times where he's trying to get a jump and, oh wait a minute, he's pulled just right back as he's trying to leap out. So she's one of those heroes where if you can play it, she's always worth picking up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Very cool. Well, thank you again for joining us, and congratulations again. But before we let you go, we're going to give the floor to you for any shout-outs that you have.
Yeah, shout-outs to the team. Everybody played really well tonight. You know, shout-out to the guys on the other side, SYK. So, you know, good luck for them for the rest of the season. And thank you guys for casting.
Of course, anytime.
No
Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thanks.
All right, so we are going to take a short break. At 8 p.m., we are going to have a second series over here this evening. We are going to have a Heroic Division game coming out. We'll have Get Stuffed versus Offensive Gaming, both who have been doing fairly well so far this season. So, Random, I think we were talking, it's going to be a very interesting matchup coming up.
Yeah, you 7, 8-1, and 7-2 or 6-2. No, wait, what are they? I have to look back at the standings. I'm not gonna talk out of my butt right now.
Give me the notes.
7-1, 4-2. Okay, so it looks like Offensive Gaming has not played as many matches.
Gotcha. So either way, going to be very interesting. So we will be back for that in just a bit. So hang tight, don't go away, and we will see you soon.